started, and then we'll just let anyone who else wants to join us as we go. So if you are new here, my name is Lindsay Simpson. I'm our tech integrator, and I had the pleasure of working with some amazing people to set this night up for you. And I get also the pleasure of introducing our guest speaker. He is from the University of Miami and works for NOAA. And he is one of the scientists in our JASON learning curriculum. So we adopted this curriculum last year, and one of the benefits of it was that students are actually able to see working scientists as they go through their unit. And our 6th graders got the pleasure of meeting Dr. Dunion earlier this year when they started looking at monster storms, as that is his specialty. So Dr. Jason Dunion is here with us today all the way from Florida. He is a hurricane hunter, and he is going to be sharing how he became a hurricane hunter, his journey to that field, and some of the exciting things that he gets to encounter as a hurricane hunter. So no further ado, Dr. Jason Dunion.
Thanks, Liz. How's everybody doing tonight? Good, I hope. So I'm going to try to walk you through a few things about how I got to what I'm doing, how we look at hurricanes and what kind of ingredients go into making a hurricane. Some of the students today learned a little bit about that. And then we'll talk a little bit about the hurricane hunting, which is probably my favorite part of the whole thing. So if we get my computer to work, it wants to put me on Wi-Fi. If we look at our map of Miami, how many folks have heard of the Hurricane Center over by the Everglades, right? So those guys do all the forecasts. They try to predict where's the storm going to go, how strong is it going to get, who needs to evacuate. Across town is the research division. So we, I think, have the more fun job, right? So there's 2 things I like about our job. They're out here. We're on this tropical island off of Miami. We're also lucky enough to get to fly the hurricane hunters during the season. So we actually get to fly into the eye of the storm while these poor guys are stuck doing all the forecasts. So I like that. That's a good thing. And how was my road getting from growing up in New England to being a research meteorologist, right? Did it look like this? I knew exactly what I wanted to do right away. Well, probably not. There it is, right? So when I was 8 years old, I had a little weather station. I used to predict the weather and look at the temperatures. That was pretty fun. Then I went to the University of New Hampshire when I got a little bit older, did geography and geology. After that, I helped a guy build a house, right? There's no meteorology going on there, except for keeping an eye on the weather, of course. I was a courier. I used to deliver things in Boston, right? I was a social worker in Connecticut and down in Miami, so I used to help folks with disabilities live on their own. And that was a lot of fun too. But haven't even gotten to the meteorology part, except for my little weather station, right? Did some school. I decided I wanted to go back to school for atmospheric science. Went to Wisconsin. And then after that, I went to SUNY Albany. So you can see my road is pretty crazy. But I like that. I like having all the different experiences, right? As a student, you don't have to know exactly what it is you want to do. You can take some turns in the road, right? You can check things out as you go. What got me really into hurricanes? The blizzard of '78 that hit New England. You know, the forecast weren't as good back then. You know, is anybody going anywhere outside of Boston on that road? Probably not. Is everybody having a hard time? Definitely not. That's me and my snow fort, right? So I'm making the most of it, getting impacted by these storms. And I had Hurricane David when I was 8 years old. This came up the coast. And I remember it came at night, and I hid under the covers in between my parents in their bed. And I never looked out the window one time. I was too scared. Of course, what do I do now? I fly into hurricanes, right? So who knows how life will take you. And I also had this storm when I was in high school. This one came up the coast. So it was a lot of weather that I was experiencing, kind of getting me interested in what I ended up loving to do. Just kind of neat, right? Kind of a long path. Take a look at my list of hurricane names. It's all alphabetical. Does anybody see their name up there? Wow, a couple? Holy cow. All right, I might fling some stickers out to the crowd on a really bad shot, too. Somebody back there saw it. Oops. So, I guess a question for you is, what do you notice about these 2 years in yellow? Remember, there could be a sticker in it for you. They're exactly the same. Except for, if the storm's really bad, it will get retired. What name in 2019 at the top here was really notorious? A bad one. Anybody remember? I want to guess. You want to guess? You still get a sticker. It's Dorian. So that name will get retired. We'll never see that one again, right? It's like a basketball player. It's notorious enough, it's gone. Here's where we get to in an average year. We get to the L storm. So we usually get about 12 storms that get names. And every year it kind of throws you a little bit of a different flavor, right? Some years are quieter. Look at 2019 and 2017. We got pretty far through the alphabet, actually, right? It was pretty busy. What's going to happen this year? We will see. El Nino, we had a little bit of an El Nino last year. It's kind of wrapping up. That tends to squash the hurricanes. So if that goes away, maybe we'll be above average, a little bit above average. All right, so some of the students today learned about this, and I'm going to talk about ingredients for a hurricane. Almost like making a cake. What does it take to make a hurricane? Well, they like lots of energy, right? It's like having breakfast. They want energy. They also want warm ocean water. 80 degrees is a really good number for storms. They like that really toasty water. They like light winds. They also like a smooth running engine. Do we have any runners in here? Anybody that runner? It's similar with a hurricane, and we'll talk about that. They breathe almost like us. They love spin. And they also love really moist air. Right? They don't like dry air. So there's lots of ingredients that we look for to make a hurricane. And for the energy, here's Africa. This is where a lot of the storms are born. It's like a nursery. Does anybody know, what's this world's biggest desert that's just north of Africa? The Sahara Desert, the biggest desert in the world, right? So we've got this nursery and this super dry air here. But what's so interesting about this is most of the big storms we get, the category 3, 4s, and 5s, come from this nursery, about 80%. And about half of all the storms, a little bit more than that, come all the way from Africa. Right? So we keep an eye on this part of the world quite a bit. And as they come across, they might get strong enough, if they get up to 39 miles per hour, they get a name. They become a tropical storm. So that's what we keep an eye on. We also keep an eye on how warm the ocean is. Right? The warmer it is, the brighter the color. So we see that. What do you guys notice about the ocean temperature along our track of Hurricane Edouard? I'm going to come over here for a second. What do you notice about it? What do you see with those yellows? Anybody? It gets a little colder with those yellows, right? Right here. So what happens with a hurricane is it kind of mixes up the cold water from below and brings it up to the top. And it leaves cold water behind, so this poor hurricane behind that one can actually weaken when it runs over it, right? So hurricanes love warm water. What about this map? That's a really old map, right? 1786. And somebody drew a map and said, you know, there's a river of water off the coast here. It's right here. And if you take your ships and sail to Europe along that river, you'll get there a lot faster. Who came up with that map? Who's that guy? Anybody know? Who is he? It's a good guess. Ben Franklin. I mean, what did that guy not do? He did everything. He had a map of the Gulf Stream, that river, back in the 1700s. So our runners again, where are our runners? So the storms love to breathe, right? So if you take a slice of our storm, right, in half, they love to breathe in at the bottom, breathe up, right in the middle, and at the top, they breathe out. So there's this breathing. So what happens if you're running and you're not breathing really well? What if you start going, you're gonna have the worst time ever, right, in your run. So just like a hurricane, you need to have this regular, steady breathing. You also have to have winds that are really friendly. So let's look at our skater. Let's give him a little push. at the knees. And another gentle push up top. We'll just go like this. How's our skater gonna be? How's he gonna look? How do you think our skater's gonna be? Will he be okay? Here, we can have that. He'll just get pushed along. Now think about this as wind, down low and up high. If you just give the storm a gentle push, it's just gonna move along, right? So now let's switch things up a little bit. Let's switch this to my sister now. We're gonna give my sister a little shove at the bottom, and then we're gonna give her a big shove at the top the other way, right? Exactly, how is she gonna be looking? How's she gonna look? She is gonna be on the ground, but she's my sister, so really it doesn't matter. So she fell. So let's think about our cloud. We're gonna give it a little push, a little blow with the wind down low, and we're gonna push it really hard up top. What's gonna happen? It's gonna shred apart. So hurricanes don't like winds that are too different down at their knees and way at their top, because it rips them apart. Now we look at spin in the atmosphere. Hurricanes love to spin, right? And there's Katrina trying to spin, but she's all spread out, not looking too good. We've got satellites that can tell us, well, where is there spin? Is there any spin down near Florida or up here in New York? Well, there's some right here with Katrina. So let's watch our skater. I've watched this movie too many times today. It gets me worrying every time I see it. Whoa. So, what did you notice? What did our skater do? Can I ask you guys? What did this? He was spinning really fast. What did he do with his arms to spin really fast? Yeah, he put his arm into the sky. We call it moment of inertia, but he basically made himself smaller. He doesn't have to be a scientist to know, if I make myself teenier, I'll spin faster. Now, what if he was getting really green like me and wanted to stop? What would he have to do to stop spinning? He could get back up, exactly. What else could he have done with his arms? Put them down, or even spread them out. Spread them out really far and he would have slowed down, right? So hurricanes like that too. So Katrina, a couple days later, pulled its arms in and started to compact itself. So now our satellite says, whoa, there's a ton of spin right here. This thing is spinning like a top, which hurricanes love to do, right? Hurricanes also hate dry air. So we're looking at Saharan dust storms coming off of Africa, which are super dry, right? This is kind of a weird shot of Africa, but the way I'm enhancing it here is the dust looks like that pink, right? So here's the Sahara, and here's our hurricane nursery, where all these storms are trying to form. Here comes all that dust down towards the nursery, and then it starts to head out to sea. And there it is the next day, right? So we've got special satellites that can track it. There it is, right there. And we can also track it at night with special imagery. Now it looks like this. Now, has anybody ever been to Africa here? I've never been. Let's put the United States on top of that dust storm. Well, here's a dust storm that goes from just about Miami to Seattle, down to California, and up to Maine, right? Is that going to be on the news tonight? Probably yes. But out here it happens all the time, so we don't really notice it as much, right? Here's a really cool shot of a dust storm. So this is way over in Africa, and there it is right there, coming off the coast. A couple of days later, I'm on the Hurricane Hunters taking pictures of it. See how it kind of looks like, almost like a fog, and kind of an orange haze here? That's dust from Africa. A couple of days later, it makes its way all the way to St. Croix, one of the islands in the Caribbean. That's what it looked like the day before, and here's all that dusty haze when it came to the Caribbean. And then finally, it reached my house in Miami, and even in Miami, we see the dust. That's a long way from where it started, right? It actually going all the way across the Atlantic. We just watched dust travel about 4,000 miles. That's really, really far. And the dry air that hurricanes hate came with it. So those are some of the ingredients. Let's talk about some of the tools. How do we have fun out there to try to figure these ingredients out, right? So we've got 2 planes. We've got Gonzo. He's a jet, we fly really high. Who else? Who are the planes down below if that's Gonzo? Does anybody have any guess who might be? Any guess who the other planes might be if one of them is Gonzo? Could it be Kermit and Miss Piggy, maybe? So it is, it's Kermit and Miss Piggy. And Jim Henson actually helped us design these. They're actually on the planes, it's kind of neat. So here's what it looks like inside the plane. Lots of engines. This is a P-3 Orion. And it's pretty packed inside, right? And also notice that thing. What is that thing hanging over the seat? Does anybody have a guess what it could be? A parachute. Sometimes I wish it was a parachute. It's actually a seatbelt. Probably not a seatbelt like you've seen on a regular plane though, right? And we also have that little tube right there. So what we do is we put this drops on into the tube, and it launches out of the plane, a little parachute opens up, and it falls down to the surface, measuring everything we want to know about the storm, right? So remember my little weather station when I was 8 years old? This is the big kids' weather station, right? This is $800 for one of these, and we'll launch maybe 20 or 30 of these on each of our missions, right? So we're measuring everything what we want to know about the storm, the pressure, the moisture, the temperature, how strong the winds are. Fun toys that we have. We also have the jet. So this one flies much higher, way up at 45,000 feet. It's kind of crowded inside, but it's fun. That's a fun flight to take. This is pretty neat. So now we're switching over to drones. So now we want to put drones to work. Does anybody have a drone, or a brother or sister who has a drone? Okay. So this one is about a wingspan of 5 feet or so. So it's about this wide. And it's basically a little drop zone, like this guy, only it has wings. And it's really simple. It has little springs on its wings that pop out. We put it into the tube, and then it falls out of the plane. And here's what it looks like when it goes out. And that's it. It's gone. It comes out, it breaks away from that little tube with its parachute, the wings pop out, and the engines turn on, and it starts flying for about an hour, right? So we want to start playing with these drones and see where we can take them in places maybe we don't want to fly, like really low in the storm, right? And hopefully we can get these to last longer too. The next one is even more fun. This is the Global Hawk. Now we're up at 55 or 60,000 feet, so now we're up in the stratosphere, way, way up. And it takes an army to make this happen. Like, it almost looks like Cape Canaveral, right? So there we are, the pilots are up here, all the scientists. You might recognize this guy in the back here. But when this thing takes off, and we had it out at NASA this year, watch how big it is. You'll see a little chase car behind it. That's a car. So this thing takes off. Its wingspan is 120 feet from end to end. And what's neat about the plane is it takes off, and we won't see it again for 24 hours. It flies for a whole day and then comes back. So it can actually go all the way to Africa and come back to us. Right? It's nice having a plane that's so big because we can put lots of toys on it. It flies way above the storm with a radar, so we can get a radar picture of the storm, almost like an X-ray. We can also drop zones, these little guys. About 90 drop zones. We can put them out of the plane, and we can tell it where we want to sample the storm. All right, so here's my quick survey. Who would definitely take a ride in a hurricane hunt? Okay, that's pretty good. Who would definitely not do it? Absolutely, no way. Thank you very much. All right. And then the third one is, who would like to maybe go home, check your life insurance coverage, get back to you tomorrow morning? Okay. So it's about a mix of what people are thinking. So it's like a roller coaster, only we don't know when we're going to go up and down. And sometimes we're going so fast down that we'll actually get zero gravity. So things will float and then drop. It's a great time to have your seatbelt on when it happens, right? So, perspective. I was asking the students this today. Who can tell me what perspective means? What is perspective? What do you think? What does it mean? Anybody not have a sticker over here that wants to answer? Or you can help her answer. What is perspective? Want to do it? How do you see something? Is your perspective, here, you get a sticker, by the way. Can you give that to her? Is your perspective always right? Sometimes it's not right. What about these perspectives? What do you see there? It's like playing tricks on your eyes. Is that the world's biggest banana? Well, probably not. It's probably just the camera trick, right? And when you fly into a hurricane, it's a little bit like that. So here's Katrina, Category 5. There's New Orleans, where it eventually hit. Right at the time we're inside there, at exactly the time they took that picture, we were taking pictures from the eye. And this is what it looks like. There's the front of the P3, right? I think this is Kermit. And if you look at it, this is the eye wall. This is where really strong winds are. And in the middle, it's just open skies. It almost looks like a football stadium when you look at it. But it's hard to get an idea, like how high is that? Well, it's 50,000 feet to the top of that. So the only plane that can go over a hurricane is something like the Global Hawk, that drone we just saw with the huge wings. Our planes actually just have to blast right through there. So here's what it looks like in the front of the plane. Now this is Hurricane Dorian. We talked about this. It was a Category 5. This is a very strong storm. In fact, it was 185 miles per hour for the winds. It was just off the charts. So here we are in the middle. And it really takes a big crew to make this happen. These are the two pilots on either side, and they're controlling the sideways motion, the forward motion. They're kind of working together as a team. And the guy in the middle, he's working that lever. He's in charge of the engines, right? He wants to keep the plane flying along. Sometimes the plane starts to slow down, or maybe we get pushed down, we start going really fast. He has to slow it. So his job is to make sure we're flying steadily along as we go. The neat thing is, and this is exactly, these satellite shots are exactly when we were in the middle. You pop out into the eye and it's completely calm, right? And you might think that you could see it spinning like a top inside, but it really just looks like a painting. It's so still. Because it's so big, you don't see it turning. And the sun's, it's a morning flight, the sun's just popping up over the top, and that is one big storm. The thing to remember when you're in the eye, the winds in the eye were probably, I'd say 5 miles per hour, super light. You can get out of your seat, you can walk around, check it out. But this is the eye wall. This is the roughest part of the storm right here. And here we come, you can see the engine turning right there. We're getting closer, right? So now the pilots are like, all right, everybody get your seatbelt on. And of course we say, you bet, we're definitely gonna do that. So we go from 5 mile per hour winds to here, you can see the windshield getting pelted, 220 mile an hour winds. So it goes from almost nothing to incredible winds. And that's what it looked like from the ground, right? About 6 hours later when it hit Bahamas, there's that eye, the same one that we saw, right? The hard part is the guy who took this picture is only halfway through the storm, right? He's got the other half that they had to go through. So it's a really tough time for them. So I hope you got an appreciation for ingredients for a hurricane, a little bit of the hurricane hunting that we do to try to get a better handle on why they do what they do. And of course, we have all the toys. We've got the weather stations. We've got Gonzo, a $50 million jet. We've got the high-altitude drones. So it's it's a lot of fun and there are a lot of toys, but I think the most important part that I would tell the kids who are thinking about what they want to do someday is to make sure you're having a good time while you do it, right? You gotta have that snow fort thing going on. That's part of enjoying your work. So that's what I would recommend to you guys. So I appreciate your time. Welcome to take any questions. I know I'll be in the other room too afterwards, so thank you very much.